The Democrats' bill on voting in elections has generated a lot of claims from politicians and on social media. H.R. 1, or the For the People Act, is a big bill, and it touches on a lot of the basic mechanics of our democracy, like registering to vote, voting by mail, voting in person. Not a single Republican voted for the bill, but it passed, and it's now headed over to the Senate. Hi, I'm John Greenberg with PolitiFact. We've checked over 20 claims about this bill. In this Truth-O-Meter Minute, we'll give you some of the highlights so you'll know a little bit more about H.R. 1. Let's start with something from former Vice President Mike Pence. He said the bill means that millions of illegal immigrants are quickly registered to vote. We rate this false. Only citizens can vote, and the bill doesn't change that. You can't register without proof of citizenship. You also have to prove that you're old enough and that you live in the state. Pence was talking about a part of the bill that has to do with something called automatic registration. Former President Donald Trump also had that in mind.
Automatically registers every welfare recipient to vote.
We rate this mostly false. There's a difference between an application and the final voter registration. About a third of the states already start the application process when people get or renew a driver's license. State election officials still need to verify that someone is eligible. The bill expands this to more government departments, including those that deal with veterans, firearm permits, and social services. So yes, people applying for Medicaid, for example, would find it easier to register. But so would someone who wanted a concealed carry permit. And anyone who didn't want to register to vote could opt out. Republican Congressman Doug LaMalfa in California put out an email saying H.R. 1 would force states to restore the voting rights of convicted felons, including violent felons convicted of murder or rape. We rate this half true. LaMalfa has a point. The bill doesn't mention murder or rape, but it does say that people, after they have served their sentence, can vote. About a third of the states already have that rule. The bill would expand it to every state. Voting by mail became a point of contention after the last election. A Facebook post warned that with H.R. 1, absentee ballots would be sent out to anyone without proof of the voter's identity. This is wrong on two fronts. States would send applications for ballots, not ballots themselves. And they wouldn't send them to anyone. The mailings would go to registered voters. States won't register people who can't prove who they are. But this does lead to a complaint that has a little more merit. Banning voter ID. This has to do with showing a photo ID when you vote in person, and it's partly accurate. The legislation doesn't ban voter ID requirements, but it does call for workarounds. If a state requires voters to show ID before casting a ballot, it also has to let them give election officials a sworn written statement attesting to their identity and their eligibility to vote. New York Republican Representative Elise Stefanik focused on a different angle. She said the bill would prevent the removal of ineligible voters from the registration rolls. We rate this false. Nothing in the bill would stop removal. It would require states to take certain steps, including letting the person know that their registration was at risk. Finally, a Facebook post said H.R. 1 would allow nationwide same-day registration. Yep, this is true. If someone wants to register to vote on Election Day, they can. About half the states allow this in some form or another. The bill would make that the law of the land. That's it for this Truth-O-Meter Minute. For more fact checks on this big voting bill, come to our website, PolitiFact.com. And don't forget to sign up for our weekly email so you can stay on top of what's true and what's not.